Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm excited today to help you plunge right into this stack of sources we've gathered. We want to cut through all the noise, really give you a direct shortcut to understanding one of the most, well, dynamic political landscapes in Africa, Kenya. We're zeroing in on the upcoming 2027 election. And what your sources reveal, it's far more than just politics as usual. It's this fascinating, really complex interplay of, deep historical patterns, rapid demographic shifts, and the surprising, honestly undeniable power of new tech. Our mission today, well, it's to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight from all this material. We'll uncover some surprising facts, help you grasp what truly matters here, and by the end of this deep dive, you should have a pretty nuanced understanding of who the key players are, what's really at stake, and why the youth, why they're emerging as such a powerful, almost king-making force in this race. We've definitely got a lot to cover. So let's maybe start by asking, what makes Kenya's political scene so uniquely dynamic, especially when we look ahead to 2027?
Well, what's really striking when you dig into these sources isn't just that coalitions are common, it's why they've become the absolute bedrock of Kenyan politics. I mean, ever since multi-party politics returned in the 1990s, we've seen it again and again, right? NRC in 2002,
Right.
Jubilee in 2013 and 2017, and even Kenya Kwanzaa in 2022, this deep-seated reliance on coalitions. It profoundly impacts how governance actually unfolds and, often leads to unexpected power shifts.
So it's not just a strategy, it's the strategy. And our sources seem to suggest that Kenyan politics is less about strict ideology, much more about ethnic and regional balancing, making sure various communities feel represented, and also this deep-rooted practice of patronage, sort of support exchange for resources or favors. It really is a complex chessboard.
It is.
So with that in mind, who are the key pieces on this board? Who's preparing their moves for 2027?
Okay. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we're already seeing several potential alliances, these axes starting to form. One group that's emerging is this Maraga-Karua-Selassie axis. They're being framed as a potential clean hands alternative.
Interesting. Clean hands.
Yeah. So you've got David Maraga. He brings incredible credibility, a lot of youth trust too, largely thanks to his principled reputation. And of course, that historic nullification of the 2017 election.
That was huge.
Absolutely. And he's actually confirmed a 2027 bid. He's positioning himself as a Gen Z-aligned, grassroots-funded, relying on small public contributions. He's also been remarkably vocal lately, denouncing the weaponization of anti-terror laws against protesters, against youth. He even called for President Ruto's resignation or impeachment, citing a, quote, serious political and economic crisis and around 200 youth deaths.
Wow, strong words.
Very. Then there's Martha Karua. She adds vital structure, donor access, historical networks. She's a seasoned reformist, a former Minister of Justice.
And Raila Odinga's running mate in 2022.
Exactly. Her platform aims squarely at judicial independence, democratization, and crucially, anti-corruption. And rounding out this axis, you have Peter Selassie. He's a young firebrand, connects really strongly with Gen Z in those digital spaces, and also with voters in Western Kenya. He rose from pretty humble roots to become an MP, largely through extensive social media use.
That's quite a combination. You've got experience, integrity, and that raw youth appeal.
Yeah.
But what about the perennial figure in Kenyan politics, Raila Odinga? Even in semi-retirement, his influence seems inescapable, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The Raila factor it's undeniable. He still commands significant votes in Luananza, parts of Nairobi, the coast too. Honestly, his endorsement could fundamentally decide if this Maraga-Karua axis truly becomes the official opposition.
Or if they face a split.
Exactly. Or if they face a much more fragmented opposition landscape.
Okay.
And beyond these main groups, there are other crucial players. You've got Kalonzo Musyoka, who consistently commands the Kemba votes. We're talking about maybe 1.5 to 2 million votes there.
Significant numbers.
Yeah. And Gideon Moi from KNUU, he could potentially deliver Rift Valley Kalenjin minorities. And we absolutely cannot overlook Met Kenya East, the Meru, Embu, Tharaka Nithi regions. These are often the swing votes, the ones that ultimately decide elections.
Right, the deciders.
Then on the incumbent side, you have President William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanzaa alliance. They hold a strong base in the Rift Valley, the majority of Met Kenya, and they've made some inroads in coastal regions too. The big question for him, though, is if he can maintain Met Kenya's loyalty. especially with the rising cost of living and these recent protests really putting pressure on his government.
And there are those accusations, too.
Yes, he's currently facing accusations, including corruption, some say authoritarian tactics, and ignoring parliamentary oversight.
That really paints a powerful picture of the forces at play. It
Mhm.
sounds like the election won't just be won on, Twitter or TikTok.
Not entirely, no.
It'll be won by whoever builds the bigger, the most stable, and crucially, regionally balanced coalition. And one that truly inspires the youth. That potential for vote splitting if Moraga and Kuro run independently, that seems like a massive concern.
It's a critical vulnerability. The history of opposition fragmentation in Kenya, well, it's long, and it's often very costly for them.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about the players, the alliances they're forming, but beyond the personalities and all the strategic maneuvering, what are voters actually looking for? It's clear from our sources, it's not just empty slogans anymore. People want substance.
Exactly. And this raises a really important question. What are the concrete, the practical plans that candidates need to offer? How do they genuinely address the nation's, frankly, immense challenges? Our sources highlight several key policy areas that voters are really focusing on.
Okay, let's dive into economic justice first. That's a huge issue, especially when you hear that statistic, something like 67% of Kenya's unemployed are under 35. What are the proposed solutions here?
Well, Moraga and Karua, for instance, they're really compelled to offer credible, actionable strategies. Things like small business support, digital economy growth, youth enterprise funds. But crucially, funds that are corruption-proof.
That's key.
Absolutely. On the flip side, you look at Ruto's flagship Hustler Fund. Despite its catchy branding, it's widely seen, according to these sources, as ineffective. And this just starkly highlights the demand for practical, effective solutions that genuinely address unemployment and economic inequality, not just, rhetorical gestures.
And when it comes to governance, what specifically do the sources tell us the public wants to see change there?
Voters are unequivocally demanding an end to police brutality and also a significant strengthening of IPOA, that's the Independent Policing Oversight Authority.
Needs more teeth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's also a powerful push to reduce executive powers. We're seeing proposals, particularly from Moraga and Karua, for constitutional amendments to really reinforce parliamentary oversight. It's about rebalancing power.
Okay. Moving to social policy. Universal health coverage, UHC. That's been a major promise from, several governments now. Is there a new approach being discussed?
Yes, but the frustration, and you hear this loud and clear, is that past promises have largely failed to deliver. So a simple, genuinely costed UHC plan, one that demonstrates feasibility, that could be a significant vote magnet.
Something people can believe in.
Precisely. Education reform is another hot topic. Especially the competency-based curriculum, CBC. It's been highly controversial, and it desperately needs, depoliticization and much clearer implementation plans.
Finally, climate and agriculture, two areas with such a profound impact on daily life. What are the key policy points emerging from your sources there?
Youth-driven green jobs, that's a big one. Ensuring access to affordable fertilizer is always critical for farmers. And crucially, protecting vital forests like Mao and Aberdare. These are ecological anchors for the country. But what's critical across all these policy areas, host speaker, is that voters aren't just looking for idealism anymore. They want numbers.
The details.
Exactly. They want costed, practical plans. They're looking for tangible, actionable solutions, not just grand visions that might never materialize.
So we've laid out the issues, the proposed solutions, but what does all of this actually mean for who wins this election? Our sources make one thing abundantly clear. The youth. They are Kenya's real kingmakers in 2027.
The numbers alone are just compelling. By 2027, nearly 60%, think about that, almost 6 out of 10 registered voters will be under 35.
Wow.
And their influence is amplified dramatically by digital platforms. TikTok, X, what used to be Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp. These have become the dominant arenas for political discourse. Meme culture, short videos, influencers. These can truly make or break campaigns in a way we just haven't seen before at this scale.
That demographic shift is staggering, nearly 60% under 35. So this isn't just about demographics changing. It's really a fundamental shift in how political engagement happens.
Yep.
We saw hints of this, didn't we, with the Saba Saba 2025 protests and that emerging Gen Z movement?
Yes, and what's truly fascinating here, according to the analysis, is that this younger generation seems far less loyal to traditional ethnic blocs.
That's a big change.
It really is. They care deeply about tangible, everyday issues, the crushing cost of living, digital taxes that affect them directly, police brutality. They're demanding things like lower costs for data and phones, real opportunities in the creative economy, and maybe above all, authenticity from their leaders.
Authenticity. That sounds like digital strategy isn't just some add-on anymore. It's absolutely central to any successful campaign now. Salacia seems to get this intuitively.
He absolutely does. Moraga and Karua, while they bring immense experience and integrity, they will need truly digital native teams to genuinely connect with this demographic on their turf.
Makes sense.
And it's worth remembering, even Ruto's 2022 campaign was notably built on TikTok. They leveraged influencers, street slang like kazi ni kazi.
Right, meeting people where they are.
Exactly. And this raises a really important question. Can the sort of old guard truly adapt? Because the youth, they aren't looking for old wine in new bottles. They want leaders who actually show up at protests, who post transparently online, who are willing to, say, share their financial data. They want radical transparency.
Okay, armed with these insights, the players, the policies, the powerful youth vote, let's turn to what our sources are calling the ultimate reality check for 2027. What campaign strategies are these different blocs likely to employ, and who, realistically, have the best shot?
All right, let's look at the potential playbooks for that Moraga-Karua-Salasha alliance. Their path to avoiding capture by big donors could be crowdsourcing campaign funds, really emphasizing that clean hands image.
Lean into the grassroots thing.
Precisely. Holding maybe more intimate listening tours instead of those massive, expensive rallies. Streaming them live, publishing daily spending updates to build transparent trust, that could be key.
Okay.
And building local youth councils for neighborhood mobilization, that ground game is still crucial.
Okay, and for Ruto, the incumbent.
Yeah. Well, as the incumbent, he's likely to double down on showcasing infrastructure projects, roads, markets, smaller community initiatives people can see. He'll undoubtedly aim to control the narrative, probably blaming the global economy for domestic economic woes, and presenting himself as the only practical manager, the experienced hand.
Leveraging the state.
Absolutely. Leveraging administrative tools like state tours, using chiefs, the provincial administration, making sure his message reaches every corner.
And what about the Rail to Colonzo bloc? Are they kingmakers?
They absolutely could be. Their role could be as crucial kingmakers if they decide to endorse Moraga or Karua. Their biggest challenge, though, will be to demonstrate that they're not just recycling 2022 slogans. They'll need to show some genuine evolution in their approach and message to convince people, especially the youth.
This is where it all comes together then. After analyzing all these strategies, the dynamics, what's the final reality check from our sources? Who is really best positioned to win in 2027?
The consensus seems pretty clear. Whoever builds the widest, most cohesive coalition, presents clear, costed policy proposals, and perhaps most importantly, genuinely captures that Gen Z energy. They have the best shot.
So it's a combination.
It is. Moraga brings that judicial integrity, the vital clean hands image. Karua provides structure, deep constitutional roots. Salasha offers that undeniable youth appeal and digital fluency. Ruto, of course, has the immense power of incumbency, the state machinery behind him, and valuable experience.
It's a tough race.
Definitely. And this raises the critical question, will the opposition truly unite? That seems to be the decisive factor. Can Moraga and Karua stay united? Can they avoid splits driven by personal ambition? Can they keep the message relentlessly focused on the people and their issues, not just on defeating Ruto? A unified Moraga-Karua alliance, potentially with Salasha playing a strategic supporting role, that offers the strongest theoretical chance of overcoming Ruto's formidable machinery.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you as an informed observer of global politics? Why track this Kenyan election?
Well, understanding Kenya's 2027 election is just a fantastic case study in modern political dynamics everywhere. You see the indispensable power of well-structured coalitions, the critical and growing demand for concrete, practical policy proposals, and this undeniable, transformative rise of youth as a decisive voting bloc. It really challenges the traditional notion that elections are just about established parties or, charismatic individuals.
It's clear that Kenya's political terrain is incredibly dynamic right now. We're seeing traditional alliances under real pressure, giving way to these new demands for transparency, for accountability, particularly from a digitally savvy youth who are, frankly, not afraid to make their voices heard loud and clear.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it just highlights how similar forces are reshaping elections in many parts of the world. It's no longer enough, it seems, to simply have a loyal base. You need to genuinely resonate with the aspirations of the younger generation. And you need to offer clear, practical solutions that address their daily realities.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Kenya's 2027 election. We've certainly laid out the pieces on the board, but the game is still very much unfolding. What stands out to you from today's discussion? Who do you think is best positioned right now to capture the hearts, the minds, and most importantly, the votes of Kenya's rapidly changing electorate? Definitely something to mull over as you go about your day.